Welcome to week one, organization consumer behavior marketing 247, offered by Harper College, Palatine, Illinois. My name is Dr. George Mochocki. This course is offered, we'll be covering chapters 1 and 2 this first week. This course is offered in conjunction with Blackboard course management system. Okay, before we go into, let's do a real quickly, little quick overview. Every week, I'm going to try to make a real quick, short YouTube. Introduce the chapters, talk about a little bit what's due. So for this week, you already saw my orientation, which is so you kind of already know what I look like. Now, so what are we going to do? You're going to click on, the first thing you're going to do is week 1. That's the only thing you can see is week 1. There's other weeks, but that's not made available to you. So week 1 is open. First thing you're going to do, what I'm going to want you to do is click in there, and you're going to, there's a section in there that says overview. Print out that sheet, and it'll look something like this, and it says overview. It tells you what's required for the week. All right? Remember, you've already been in Blackboard already. So you already looked around and know you got the PowerPoints, everything else in there. So the first week you're going to read chapter 1, which is basically consumer behavior and marketing strategy. I will also have a concept map, kind of overviewing in there, and I'll have it concept maps left off to the side for you to read. It kind of helps people when they're doing the notes to see what they're going to be covering. And what we're going to be doing in chapter 1 is going to look about consumer behavior. So if I look at consumer behavior, we're all consumers. How do we behave? Everyone behaves differently. What you're going to learn in marketing, all marketing is once you understand your customers, how they behave, then I know what products I could sell. And how I could sell the products to them depends on their behavior. Eastern Europeans behave a lot different than Hispanics or Mexican or Puerto Rican or Russian or Chinese. We all behave different, but we still, even though we behave different, we do have a common the thread between us, between different target markets. So that's what this whole class is. How do I understand consumer behavior? What you're going to learn here is I teach another course called organization behavior. Again, how does a company behave? And what's a company? A bunch of different individuals. So when you put all those people together, they have certain behavior. Okay, you're going to summarize, let's see, the behavior. You're going to explain how to develop marketing strategies depending on the consumer behavior. It's explain the components and constitutes of what do you call it, involving consumptions, meanings, and how firms attempt to influence people. When you look at, we get the Super Bowl coming up. When you have the Super Bowl, all the advertisements are there to get people to first recognize the product, and also try to get them to buy the product, try the product, or if it's a new product, remind them about the product. All this is behavior. So they know people watching the Super Bowl have a different kind of attitude and vigor about them. So the ads and everything else is to stimulate that vigor and attitude specifically for our football fans. Okay? Now, then you're going to have, so if I look at this, so it tells you everything about this. It's going to look at chapter 1. It's going to tell you about applications, strategy, marketing, how you can segment the market, you know, by either by product, the customers, marketing strategy. Remember, the 4 P's of marketing. You already had this. For some of you, I think it's required in principles of marketing, the 4 P's, you know, product, price, distribution, and service or what do you call it, or place. All right. Now you're going to look at consumer's decision. How does a consumer make a decision? Remember, we all think differently, but still think the same. Is it peer pressure? What kind of outcomes are we looking? You know, when I want to look good because I'm going on a date. My outcomes, I want to look good for my age group, for my the way I dress. If I'll be a generation Y, a younger person, he or she may not dress in a suit and tie to look good. They may think that's too stuffy. So you're looking at different outcomes. What's that person outcome? What is he looking for when they buy my product? So I understand what's the end result. If they don't get the end result, they're not going to buy my product again, and I got to come back. And what is the society's outcomes? You know what I mean? Physical environment. What does society think we should wear? Or it helps us form our behavior and our likes or dislikes. Okay, so that's chapter 1. Nature, consumer behavior, just a little bit, you know, external factors, internal, everything that affects us as a consumer behavior. Okay, now, the next chapter, I'm going quickly, remember, and those who have had me face-to-face, I try to slow it down a little, but I only have 5 minutes. I don't want to drag it out. We fall asleep on YouTube for me, all right? So I'm going to make it a little better. Now, chapter 2 is cross-cultural variation. If you look at cross-cultural, now we have a general idea how Americans buy. But then if you really look at, we are like a salad bowl, for lack of better words. We have people from different walks of life, different backgrounds, different cultures, and they also have different perceptions, different consumer perceptions for product, different likes or different dislikes. So now as a marketing consumer, I have to understand not only Americans, I have to understand all these different diverse individuals and what's their perception and how they do they behave. So what kind of ad, what kind of strategies will I need to reach them? So on this one here, you're going to look at variations in cultural values. Remember, different values. You know, we think we have values, but if you look at some of our movies and everything else, our values really, our moral compass seems like it's kind of going a little bit down compared to some of the other countries or cultures that may be a little bit what do you call it, a higher value, for lack of better, moral value, for lack of better words, okay? So we have our own, we have culture has a value, we have our individual values, we have our own religions has our own values. All these values really shape us up or give us our compass, okay? The other thing is you're going to look at variations in nonverbal communication. If I look at consumers, you know, for, the nonverbal, how I look, how close I get to a person, what words I utilize, how much hand movements, how much eye contact I make. All these non-verbal communications are basically the heart of any kind of communication. If you look at communication, I could speak all I want. 80% of what I'm saying is nonverbal. So you're looking how I interact, how I look at you, my facial expressions, my body movements, my proximity to you, my voice fluctuation, all those is what makes it strong. So if you look at a lot of ads, you look at a lot of commercials, they always go up a little louder and you see the person's face, you see them crying, you see all these emotions because that's what you're basically selling. And then the words come in, right? So if you get your, if you understand how to utilize properly the non-verbal communication, you have a stronger product, you have a stronger way of communication. The individual will remember your what you're stating. Okay, and then you have the global demographics. You talk about demographics. Remember, I'm not talking about stereotyping. Demographics or generalization gives me a general idea of a population. I'm Polish. A lot of people say, oh, Polish people like Shavina. Shavina is duck's blood. I hate duck's blood. I don't like any kind of blood. Okay, I'm a non-blood type of an individual. But if I stereotype, it means every Polish person loves duck's blood. And that's not a general. A lot of Polish people do like duck's blood. A lot of Spanish people like salsa, a lot of hot sauce. My daughter-in-law is Mexican, and she doesn't like half the Spanish stuff. I thought, but you're Mexican. But I don't like it. I like more the Polish food. So remember, it's just a generalization. It just tells me a demographic. So I could break down a segment, and I could say, how could I serve this segment by understanding this general population, in understanding that there's going to be people that are from out here, but overall the population is kind of be similar enough where I could sell to them. Okay, now cross-cultural marketing strategy. From a marketing perspective, if you look at a lot of things, if it look like Apple and everything else, what you've been doing from the reading, a reading book is real good. From a marketing perspective, I would rather have like a global thing that everyone likes. They could go for every what do you call it, different demographic, different culture, different region. In reality, that doesn't happen all the time. It's very hard because in different regions, it could be the same product. They may just have to have a little twist. They may want this color. Over here, they want this color. Even though they're the same, they're all Chinese, they're all American, but we have different variations of different likes or dislikes depending on the reason. If I'm down south, I grew up in Chicago, but if I'm down south, I might like grits and everything else. And I'm not stereotyping, remember, I'm just generalizing. Yeah, because that's a basic food. Up here, we don't get that many grits in Chicago. So grits, I don't like it. It's okay. But I wasn't brought up here, so I like hot dogs and everything else. Down there, they may not like the hot dog. All right, do you see what I'm talking about? So if I'm looking at from a marketing perspective, it's nice to have a global strategy, but in reality, most of the global strategies will give you a general idea. You still have to be able to adjust that global strategy to a regional perception and strategy to accommodate that customer buying within that local area. Okay, so that takes care of chapter 2. Now, A real quick overview of everything else. You know, you have 20 chapters. You got marketing strategy, cross cultural variation. The first, excuse me, the two. You have changing American society. Our values have changed. We're no longer the three, or you know, we have a lot of divorce or single parents, or different multicultural. Our whole society is completely different than what it was 2 centuries. You know, centuries, 10 years, or 20 years ago. So you have to understand what's the society, what's American society, what's the likes and what's the dislikes. From a marketing perspective, I have to reflect my society. So if you really want to know what society is like, look at the advertising. You can see how it's reflected. You have two men and a girl. You have two girls and one man. You know, different videos. You have a lot of different programs that are reflecting the reality of society in the news media, in the marketing, because that's where we're attacking. These are the consumers. These are how they buy. These are what they like. This is what they're looking at. This is who they identify. As a marketing consumer behaviorist, I have to understand those likes or dislikes. What are different subcultures within a culture, right? Families and households, how did they change? Groups and influences on chapter 7 on consumer behavior. You know, peer pressure, really big. Perception, what is the perception of my goods or my company or my product? Learning memory, how do I get people to understand? How do they learn? How do they take new information? Motivation, personality, emotion. Those are the big ones. How do I motivate somebody? You know, the motivation you had, the management. How do I motivate to buy my product, to try my product, to at least give my product a real quick pass, or and become a prescriber, become a customer to me. Okay, attitudes influencing attitudes. Okay, so I got attitudes that influence attitudes. That's out of peer pressure. You got self concepts, different lifestyles, right? You have a lot of people who are waiting for marriage life. You have professional women. You have a different religious lifestyle. You have different we call marriage situations. Different people living together in a different than the non-traditional, typical marriage. Different lifestyles. Okay, so you have to understand that consumer decision product. How do consumers process to see that they have a need? How do I put the need into their mind? How do I know what they want? If I got a new product, how do I develop that so they want to try my product? Remember, your research paper that you'll be going forward, you could use any of these 20 chapters I'm going to be talking about, but you're going to be taking a new product, a new concept, and you're going to use 4 or 5 out of the 20 chapters, and you're going to define, say, hey, I'm going to open up, and I'm going to just use this as an example. I'm going to start selling fish tacos. Because beef is going up, so I'm going to start selling fish. Which customers will I be able to sell to? What is going to be their perception of it? How do I get around those perceptions? And I'm going to use this, so I'm going to find out how do customers going to find information? How are they going to evaluate my selection? That's chapter 17. How are they going to purchase? What kind of post-purchase process do I have to give to the customer? If I buy a big car or a house, you remember the cognitive distance. After I buy a car, they're sending me stuff for the next 2 months to tell me, hey, you did a good job. Do you like the car? What would you wish you had better? How was your service? All this is preparing them, getting information from my current customers to make sure that they're happy with it, so they can tell other customers, hey, this is a good product, but also understand where we could do better to bring new customers and make that purchasing and searching experience more memorable for you. And then organizational behavior, how do companies buy, and then marketing and regulation. So that basically is your first week. So we're doing pretty good. So now let's look. So those are chapters 1. Chapter 2. Now let's go into our reading. So you're going to read the 2 chapters. You're going to read those. We talked a little bit about it. You have a general idea. You're going to, after you read the chapters, this week's forum is going to be real easy. You're just going to introduce yourself. Say, hi, my name is George. I live in Chicago. I did this. And you just get the form. So you get used to the form. In the meantime, you'll be buying the books. You'll be reading the books and everything else. It's like a socialization of your first week at work. You really don't, you're doing work, but it's kind of really still very loose, for lack of better words. And then after the forum, and then any questions about this. I know some of you, this is the first time online, so you may be a little bit weary. Always look at my YouTube. I'm going to try to keep them under 10 minutes, 15 minutes the most, about the chapters and what you should be looking at and what you're doing right or what you're doing wrong. So you do that in the forum. And remember, you have to log in the first post by Tuesday. You go back and forth. The first first one is just to get to know you, ask questions, but still make sure you log in 3 different times to get used to this. And each time you log in, you respond to 3 or 4, 3 or more students after you respond to my post. So you're going to get some points for responding to my post. And at the end, you have 9 posts at 3 different days. First post by Tuesday, replying to me by Tuesday midnight, and last post by Friday midnight or Saturday by noon. And after that, the forms are done, turned off. Easy 20 points. And then, so this week we're not going to be anything course specific. Next week, when we talk about chapter 3 and 4, I will have in the form, you'll either do some kind of assessment, you're going to read some kind of a video, you're going to see a video, and then you're either going to give me a little write-up as a homework assignment, because those are worth 50 points. I mean, just up to 50 points, little small ones, and then you'll go into the forum and we'll talk about something else. Always think about what product, new product or existing product, if you want to open up to a new market, and what you're going to be doing, your research paper, which is about 7 or 8 pages, figure about 2,400 words, about 300 words per page. And what you're going to be doing is saying, I'm going to open up, like I said, tacos, fish tacos. Here's my customers. I'm going to go into this geographic, and I'm going to go into Hispanic area, and I'm going to try to sell fish tacos to that area. Here's how customers buy. Here's what I have to do. Here's what I think it's going to do. Because I did research. I understand their buying behavior. I understand their attitudes. I know how to change their attitudes. All this is going to be your backup for your paper. You see what I mean? So it's not going to be real general, but what I want you to start doing is being fine-tuned. Bring it in. Tell me who your customers are and how you're going to change them. So that's going to be your paper going forward. And we'll have a whole forum on that, okay? So, this week you're done with the forum. You had 3 times 9 posts in 3 different days. You should be all right. Then you're going to take your quiz. Now, I gave you your quiz for this week. It's not going to be too bad. The first week, I'm going to give you a little more than enough time. You got 20 questions. You read the chapters. After you read the chapters, look at the concept maps, look at the PowerPoints. And some people like open up the PowerPoints and go in there, as they read and take their notes. Take the quiz. They're in order, so you'll have, I think the first one I gave you 2 hours. More than enough for 20 questions. You know what I mean? So you'll take the quiz, and then it's a one-time deal. So if you get kicked out, send me an email. It has to be, remember, through your Harper email, say, Dr. M, I got kicked out, could you please reset me? If you get kicked out, let's say in 18 questions, so you only have 2 questions more, I will not reset the whole thing. I will just prorate and see how you did, and maybe give you the other 2 points. If you get kicked out halfway, I reset the whole question. When I reset, it gives you a whole set of new questions, but there's still hopefully maybe scramble. So try not to get the reset. One thing you have to understand, always try to utilize when you're in Blackboard. I know you have different means of smartphones and everything else, using Google Chrome, but if you're doing your quizzes, try to go in and use Mozilla Firefox. So it's a free download browser. It works real well with Blackboard. It's recommended. So when you're taking the quizzes, you go into Firefox, click in the week, you have the quiz, you click it on there, and once you start, you go forward, backwards, and once you stop, or there's no stopping, you have to finish the exam when you're taking it. Once you finish the quiz, it's done with, and you'll have your grade automatically. You'll also have your grade, your forum grades, will be always posted at the end, and you'll see how many points you get overall. But you have to get through. If you're not replying in a manner, or you're just giving me, hey, it sounds pretty good, and you're not giving me at least a paragraph with some content within your forums at a college level writing. It doesn't have to be, a paragraph or more, not like a full page. It's a forum, it's a conversation, like an email. So you should do pretty well. All right. So this week's gonna be an interesting week. I'm going to enjoy reading your forums, getting to know you, just so you understand. We come from all different kinds of walks of life. Some of you the first time, some of you have been around a while, some of you, this is your first online class. Now remember, in the forums, you're required to read all the different posting. I won't respond. If you ask me a question, hey, Dr. M, how many points for this research paper, and I tell it to you, and you ask another student ask me the same question, I'm going to say it's in the forum. You have to read the forums. You have to respond to all of them, but you got to read through them, just like you do on Facebook or Twitter, to keep going, to make sure you understand what's going on in business. You always do. I get all the email because I'm at a task force, but I basically look and read everyone else. I may not respond to them, but I got to respond so often to make sure that they say, hey, I'm not just a wallflower. I actually have something, some knowledge, some information to give back to the team. And that's basically what what you're going to learn in this class. All right, so remember, you're logged in. This week is fairly easy. You read the 2 chapters, do the quizzes, do an intro form, talk about any kind of question just to get used to the forms and the posting. And when you're doing the forms, I'll let you could, if you do a form reply to somebody else and you want to change it, if no one else replied to that, you have the option to delete that form. Once someone replies to your post, that form is there to the rest of the week on that, understand? So you can't just drop that. It has a spell check, and you'll enjoy this. Trust me. Do not be intimidated about an online class. This is the way going forward. There's going to be more interaction, more online, and in business, you're always doing a virtual online anyway. So remember, every week, get into the used to it. You log in 3 different times, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and you talk to somebody else. You do your homework, you do your reading, you do your quizzes, you do your form, and then you should do well. Remember, this week you're going to have, and at the end, you have 1 research paper that's worth 150 points, and you'll have a final exam that is comprehensive of all the chapters. So you should do pretty well. So again, welcome to what do you call it, Marketing 247, Consumer Behavior, and you'll really enjoy this. And I hope you don't, I'm getting a little bit better at my YouTubes. I used to be very, stiff, but like anything else, learning. And remember, just bear with me for the 5-10 minutes, and I'll tell you a little bit about the chapter, and I'll also tell you which way you should go. And if there's nothing going on, you may not have a YouTube that week, but it's always there. Okay, so remember, Blackboard, weekly assignments, do the forums, do the reading, do the quizzes, and then basically use the PowerPoints, use all the any kind of assessments, and you should be good. So again, my name is Dr. George Mochocki. Welcome to week 1 of Consumer Behavior, Marketing 247, offered by Harper College, utilizing Blackboard course management system. We'll be covering chapter 1 and 2 in a brief intro and a bio about yourself, and explore Blackboard. And again, my name is Dr. George Mochocki. Goodbye.